Yo, what's the word?
Oh, welcome. How are you?
Everything's 100.
I thought I was going to lose you for today.
Nah, shout out to Oso, shout out to Megs and all the community that come out to support.
Yeah, shout out to Xadian who made it here just in the nick of time. I was getting ready to treat you like you treat me. The co-host is not here today, so we gonna go ahead and have a show by ourselves. But you showed up. You did a pop-in cameo.
Yeah,
Welcome,
you already
brother.
knew I was in here. Stop playing games, bro. Stop playing.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm Sarita. I'm the youngest part of this sibling pair. We meet in the Rose Garden every Thursday to have our own conversation and our ability to heal around our own kind of stuff that's going on this week. Brother, how your week been?
Yeah, I have a kind of a visitor. I don't know what you would want to call him, an interloper, but
You have an interloper.
cute little raccoon though. But he try to make his place his latrine. You know what I
You
mean?
you know what I think is interesting is
Mhm.
how like welcoming you are to this wild animal.
No, he gotta get out of here though.
Are you
So
just out?
starting tomorrow, we about to implement a program and put a little traps around. We might to catch him.
Oh, you're gonna catch him? That's the goal.
Yeah, he too comfortable.
Oh, he looked real comfortable. I seen you post him. First of all, I was like, dang, you mighty close to that. And that little joker jumped from the cushions and then had like his own little path out. You saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. Like homie was really trying to set in on that, but he can't do that though. He can't.
Were you afraid of him?
Nah, I wasn't afraid. It's funny, right? Because I pulled the cover off on both sides, but I ain't expect him to be under there to be real. But But when I pulled the cover off, I could smell something like a dog under there. So I knew he was posted up.
Oh, you smelled something.
Yeah, but he didn't move though. He was like tucked under there. You just seen his little beady eyes, poking out, peering out. Yeah.
What were you opening up the deck?
No, I saw like when you had the covers on the couch and stuff. I saw that the pillows underneath them had been disturbed. You know what I mean? So I
Oh,
was wondering, like, man, why these pillows all like knocked down like that? You know what I mean?
uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
that's why I took the cover off to take a look and see what's going on, and found out exactly what it was. You know what I mean?
Well, the beauty of this experience is animals make themselves at home, even when we think we have barriers. Because didn't you have like a fox too?
Yeah, yeah. The foxes used to be digging a hole in the front. You know what I mean? They
Yep.
stopped now because we did all the things that needed to do to get them to stop, but they were persistent for a long time because they
What
had.
did you do?
Well, I put like this thing they call like a dig defense around where they were trying to dig the holes up, right? Because they wanted to dig a hole underneath the front steps of the home. You know what I mean?
They
And
said they live there.
we were there, right? So they was digging a hole on both sides so they could come in and out. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't be trapped in one way. You know. But we put like a fence all the way around the steps so that no matter how deep they dig, they're just hitting fence so they can't get underneath there. You know what I mean?
Oh, dope, dope.
And
Well,
then we'll put like some rocks in front of the fence so that they don't, to discourage them from digging because that didn't stop them from digging. Now,
no.
now they stop digging because they ain't no purpose because they ain't nothing but rocks under there. So they're
Yeah,
like,
it's harder. You making their lives harder. Well, the group chat been really quiet since we lost one of the most prominent members, and I think I said shared last week that one of our members passed away. Actually,
yeah,
her funeral is next week, and
RIP to the bad girls.
yeah, man, but what little bit of noise people been making because I think everybody's just feeling sad, for such a sudden loss.
Hmm.
And it taught me something though about how much one person can really be um, a significant influence in that kind of group think and group body.
Hmm.
Um, so I never want to take that for granted because I think in this kind of era we think people can just be replaced, but certain voices can't be replaced. So
One
um,
hundred percent.
she was a such a prominent voice, and she'll definitely be missed. And boy, she's the one that coined you bald headed brother.
Oh,
So
word.
Yeah, she coined you bald-headed brother, and then everybody else kind of picked up around it. So, shout out to her and her family, and I hope they have some peace around what's happening. But it is a quite a loss. But the group chat been quiet, and especially that's good for you because you stay getting yourself in trouble. Um, but we did have conversations, right? So and the conversations led me to some discussions that I think are valuable here in the Rose Garden because you and I are well, I'm an empty nester for sure, but you close behind, and these experiences that people are having with their adult children is kind of wow because uh, one of the things that they talked about is when adult children either return home and, like our producer said, as we were getting prepared, never leave home. Um, and
Yup.
the
They like
dynamic that creates.
they like the raccoon, huh? They found like little cozy little place. They want to stay up under there now, huh? You can't get up.
Absolutely. And I'm talking about these people are some of them like in our cohort in their late 40s, early 50s,
Mhm.
hanging around and living at home.
Mhm.
This is, we make light of all of this, but this in Montana, did you hear the news about the man that had been kicked out by his parents and then he came back and killed eight of his family members? Um,
Damn, I ain't hear that. Hey, these people from Montana ain't playing no games, huh?
Nah, and that's one of them gun-toting states. So he went in and swept the room, and then evidently killed himself. So, um, it's relevant to this discussion because now you gotta be afraid if you put somebody out, even if they're your blood, they're gonna come back with guns and knives and tell you and hold you up.
But
It's
what you think about
you.
from a mental health issue? Uh,
Don't listen. The mental health people deserve better than this. Now, everybody has mental health, right? But
yes,
y'all not gonna blame this on no serious mental illness. Some of this is just pride, ego, desperation, and
impulsiveness, right? That's impulsiveness because
and
like,
impulsivity. Well, now that impulsivity, this man went home or wherever he went because he got kicked out, so he may have been homeless. Purchased a gun and in premeditation came back. That's
mm,
not impulse. That was a premeditated impulse to go
mm,
back and sweep the room and kill all the family members because he had recently been kicked out.
yeah, that's wild. That's super wild. You know what I
It's
mean?
a while. And another story popped up on the social media is just wilding right now. A man is suing his parents for being born.
Man, if he win, I'm gonna go back and sue our parents. That-
For what? What do you hope to gain?
you know, you ain't gonna get no blood from a rock, right?
So what do you hope to gain?
I'm playing with you.
So this is the grounds, which is kind of as much as it's sad, it's also very interesting. So
Mhm,
basically, his defense is, or his claim, because this is not in criminal court, this is in civil court,
mhm.
is he never asked to be born. He
Yeah.
had no say in it. He didn't have right of first refusal. He had absolutely no say in being born.
Man, that's true for all of us, isn't
That's true for all of us. And
it?
so by virtue of that, he should then continue to be a dependent because essentially his parents chose to have a dependent,
Mm.
right?
Interesting
And
argument.
so and so what he's saying is then I need to depend on them to sustain my life because I didn't have a say in whether or not I could have life.
Wow.
It's
That,
quite
that's
an argument.
that's an intriguing argument for real.
It's quite an argument.
You see what I say about like this female consciousness that that's
This is a man. You hear me say man, him.
what I'm saying. Like these men that got these feminine consciousness, because yeah, that sounds a lot like I heard these two women debating each other, and
Here we go. This is how you stay in trouble in the group chat.
hey,
You
fuck
get
that.
liberation, and then you stay back in trouble. So we talk about this man, and you see that female consciousness? Ain't no
Yeah.
woman in sight, no girl doing, man suing. You over here bringing up the woman. Go ahead,
That's a
let's see
feminine
this
consciousness. Make me comfortable. Take care of me. You know, it was these two women. They were debating each other, right? And one woman says, you know, I, well, if we made these kids, if me and the man made these kids together, then he need to help me take care of these kids when we break up. So basically, he owed me like alimony and child support. So the other lady was like, okay, well, if y'all made these kids out of the union that y'all had together and y'all are breaking up and you want to be equal and fair, then why not you know, y'all both share custody. Neither one of y'all get no alimony or child support, and you get a job just like he has to. You know what I mean? And, all these ladies was upset at that one lady that had that opinion, but I thought that was an intriguing argument. We want to be equal and fair. Why not it be so? But you know, the feminine side of it say, make me comfortable, make me, you know, take care of me. You know what I mean? But you go ahead and work and you bear all these burdens, and who cares about how you get taken care of? You know what I mean?
Well, let's play devil advocate for a second, because I think this may be a little bit more nuanced than just the feminine. Because what do you say for entourages then? Because which
I
are full of
think,
male people
I
who are
think
being taken care of by
I think
other
there,
males.
I think there is only zero and one, off and on, black and white, up and down. There's only binary, meaning that it's either masculine or feminine. You know what I mean? So I think the person who is the alpha, that entourage ecosystem is parasitic, like the symbiotic parasitical life that they living off of. They living off this alpha, but the alpha support these other people. Now, if that's all men, then there's only one masculine energy really in there. You know what I mean? The rest of them are like feminine energies for real.
Well,
That's
or if it even if it is masculine energy, because again, this idea, this concept of men and women is a social construct in some way.
no,
So
no,
it
no.
is in some way, because
That ain't no social. That's a law of nature. That's just like saying the air you breathing right now is a social construct.
no, what I'm saying is the roles and dependencies. So even within, let's just do even within the animal kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You watch National Geographic. So there's only when you watch National Geographic, the grandsons have been loving the chimpanzees, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
They're all over Disney and National Geographic. And so the chimpanzees, there's only one alpha, right? There's
Right.
only one, but there's other males within in the troop. That's what they
Right.
call it,
Right.
within the troop
Mm-hmm.
that are doing the service of the alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And then every now and again, somebody, another male within the troop, will try to challenge the alpha in some other way, and
Uh-huh.
then they fight it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
within this framing, there's males in that group that are doing things that would be considered under your model feminine energy. And what I'd argue is there can only be one leader in most groups,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
This concept of shared leadership is flawed and it didn't make sense. Ask all the people in polygamous relationships and polyamorous relationships. There's all kinds of dynamic issues that go on in there, hierarchical things. So from
Well,
that
there's all
hierarchy,
kinds of issues that go on in monogamous relationships.
well, that's because a lot of people in monogamous
Or, or,
relationships are
or,
lying and not being monogamous.
but no, I'm just saying.
That's
I'm
the
just,
problem.
well,
That's the problem.
what I'm saying is, no, there's more problems than just that. I think like there's also like power control struggles inside of a monogamous relationship too. You know, it to me, what you said is true, right? Just to comment on in that true situation, which you know is the construct is set up for survival, right?
Mhm.
There has to be somebody that's responsible for the survival of that troop. and that's the alpha or whatnot. But then there are responsibilities that the troop has to take care of. Like, everybody got to contribute to the well being of each other. You know what I mean? So but in as much as another male is involved in that, I don't think that that's necessarily not masculine. You know what I mean? Because put it
Mhm.
this way, I think that the pinnacle top leader is really a servant, to be
Mhm.
real, because that role he has is and the responsibility he has is the sustainment of the life and survival of that troop.
Mhm.
So he has to serve that troop in many different ways, including putting his life on the line for the troop. You know what I mean? If it calls for it or whatnot. So
Well,
I think,
other people have to fight in
but
troops.
but yeah, but then he got a bullseye on his back. The other dudes that's trying to get his spot, and all this. Not only that, he got to scout around. Like it's a tough job. But most leaders. He trying to take the women and everything, all this. But, the most leaders are I think the thing about it that people don't get in terms of leadership is service part of it, the service
Mhm.
aspect of it. So I think like no matter what, any leader, and it's funny because they show this like in shows like a Game of Thrones, like you want to sit on the throne, but then when you sit on the throne, you start seeing what that actually means when all these people are coming and asking you, "Can I get this? Can I get that? I can't eat this. This money's here.
Right,
Let's eat
right,
this."
right.
There's so much stuff. Now you start realizing, like, damn, there's so much shit cracking in here. You know what I mean? Now you need a council. Like one person can't do that all.
No, right.
Yeah, you need to redistribute this and all that. So I say that a person that learns how to serve, what I mean, who could be like let's just say number two, number three, number four in the ranking, but they solid because to me, what really make a organization strong, like a clan, a troop, or whatever, is
Mhm.
that all of the parties that's in it is solid and thorough. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Mhm.
just imagine you see number 10 and
Mhm.
number 10 a beast like head and his whole feet and body is over the next competitors. Like you got an elite squad. You feel me?
Mhm.
So I would say, you know, just because you number 10 don't mean like you less than, anyways, just where you fit in that construct. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the ego and pride, where I say is like this mental health part of it, is the ego and pride like fucks with you. You know what I mean? Yeah, because then you start seeing yourself as less. And what if number one couldn't be number one without 2 through 10?
Mhm.
What if
Mhm.
that's so? You know what I mean? And what
Mhm.
if what if like 10 is so valuable to number one,
Mhm.
and like number one just really gets the brunt of everything. And like truth be told, let's just say if they trying to attack the organization, they always talking about like let's cut off the head. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So you cut off the head, and then everybody else can dissipate somewhere else, but they don't really get faced with the same consequence that the number one does. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you're
Mhm.
taking like all the burdens for everybody else. So to a certain degree, you know what I mean? Like everything follows this like divine providence and order. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think like sometimes people when they're in like a real system that they have to earn, they understand these things, like rank and file. Like, let's just say, like martial arts, for example,
Mhm.
you go up through the martial art discipline, you got senior, senior peers or
Mhm.
senior teachers, senior disciples, whatever.
Mhm.
But then you got masters, you got grandmasters, all this. But it's a lineage that you follow, and you
Well, it's
like
a hierarchy is what you're saying. There's a hierarchy, and I think from so from the kind of sick perspective is so many people and like I'm a mental health professional, so we're not going to call this mental health from a deviant perspective because we're all born in hierarchies, right? So like me and you are siblings and I'm the baby sibling. There's certain things that I just couldn't do. There's certain things I just couldn't do. And so I respected the hierarchy. But think about those siblings like Cain killed Abel, you know? that
Right.
don't respect the hierarchy. So that's not necessarily a mental health thing in the traditional sense, like of the classic case of mental illness, but it is a thinking problem. So I'll give you that. And it is an issue with how we see ourselves in the world. And I feel that those are the most insecure people, right? Because um, those the most insecure people are always trying to say, well, why is number one,
Hmm.
right? What is the qualities about number one that what do they have that I don't have?
Hmm.
And so when you start thinking that way, then you don't pay attention to your own gifts and you want to then diminish someone else's gifts. And I would agree with you.
Hmm.
Eloquently said, if I can say so myself. And I would agree with you that men and women do that, right?
No doubt. I mean, I could see inside of a relationship, right? Where, I mean, this is where I appreciate women that can be honest about their situation. One of the most honest women that I've ever seen is Michelle Obama, right?
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because when she met her husband, Barack, uh, former President Barack Obama,
Hmm.
he was in social standing lesser than her. You know,
Hmm.
she was already in a career. She was his mentor in his career path role, whatever. And then all this, but then at some point in time in their relationship, he kind of surpassed her, and she
Hmm.
said that that used to fuck with her. You know what I mean? So she said, for instance, he would be at work all day, and then after work he would go to the gym and work out, and she would be upset that he did that because she had been at home with the kids all day, you know,
Mm.
2 kids, and she's saying me, on the outside between them two, when she's looking at him, she's like, he's partying, like, he's in shape, he's fit, he's looking good. And she's like, I just had these 2 kids, my body ain't right, all this. So in secret, she got jealous of him. You
Right.
know what I mean? And these things are like causing problems between them in their relationship.
Hmm.
She starts thinking, and she start wisely realizing she's the problem. And she was
Hmm.
like, there's no problem in him doing self care and self love. She was like, he's supposed to do that. So
Mm.
for me to be jealous of him going to the gym, that's not his problem. She said, I need to start doing. So then she started, doing stuff to take care of herself,
Hmm. Hmm.
rightfully so. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Instead of acting on those, jealous emotions and doing things to sabotage and attack and destroy and stuff like that. She addressed her own self inside of the thing. You know what I mean?
I didn't hear that, but I could see, so there's a certain maturity that comes with being able to reflect and self-reflect. And so I like that about Michelle Obama. I do
Yeah,
think there are other women like that. But I'm going to give you an example if we could quickly pivot to why just engaging in subtle self-reflection is so important in general. And this is going to take us back to the conversation about uh, uh, kids suing their parents, right?
right, right.
So, you know, one thing about being a parent is sacrificial. Can we all agree?
Absolutely.
All agree that it's sacrificial. But
Mhm.
this is why you have to live in reality. And a lot of people, one of their problems, and that's not a mental health problem. I'm not gonna let you blame this on the mentally ill. The mentally ill deserve better.
Yeah,
Is they don't want to take the sacrifice, right? They want to give everybody else the like the young man said, they made a choice to make me a dependent. I'm not supporting this at all. I think this is absolutely BS, and I would be I would be fine with that child cutting me off for the rest of my life if he thought that I'm supposed to take. And by the way, the person who's doing the suing, like he's in his 30s, so he's
wow,
well beyond the
wow,
time that the parent should be like helping him launch.
wow,
Um,
wow.
and so, but to some degree, people don't want to live with their decisions, and they truly, truly want other people to be involved. Like, share my decisions, share my decisions. And you know what the human condition is? There's a psychology behind that because most people don't want to disappoint someone else. So you know why they add this? This is the most gangster finding that has ever happened. And y'all better be reading y'all receipts because you know I be traveling for work now. And everywhere I go, even if it's like to the Dunkin' Donuts, where you know you put your order in, they're supposed to just hand you your coffee right back. You click on the screen, and they're like, there's one or two questions on the next screen. And the one or two questions ain't about was my service nice? Did anybody smile at you? It's do you want to tip? And you know why they did that? Because maybe the majority of people, if they're asked to tip, they'll do it because they're too afraid to disappoint the person that they don't even know. They have no relation. Like you don't know the girl serving you Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Well, did you hear that there was like a group chat with Texas Roadhouse employees, like
I
400,000
heard that. Now Texas Road.
black food? Now, if tipping somebody is the difference between me getting an extra in my food, you know what I mean, then I happily a tip. You know what I mean?
It's a different situation because tipping is expected in that kind of scenario.
Right,
But
right.
even that's getting more gangster. At
Yeah,
my
that is.
my trip where they're not even itemizing the tip anymore. What
Mhm,
they did was they forced you to read, and what they're banking on is
mhm.
people's literacy rates here in the United States are worse than they have been in decades.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So people can't read.
Mhm,
Okay. And
mhm,
so what if you can't read, you'll assume now because it's not itemized with like, the total and then the tip and then whatever tax. How they did it in this on my current receipt was they had the total, but the total included the tip, but it didn't say total with tip on the line and the itemized. It just said total, then tax. Then underneath the signature line, it said your total includes the tip of
mm.
20%. So underneath, like I had to go all the way down the receipt and I almost tipped because the way it looked, it didn't have like, I was looking for that itemized line tip, but I kept going down. I mean, that's how gangster is starting to be, where they're deciding for me. And at one point, it was 15% was customary. Then it's 18. Now, almost every place I'm going, it's a customary 20% tip. Like, what's the cap? You
I
know,
agree on that one.
and who's getting the money? Who's getting the money? Where does this tip go?
Mhm.
So, again, it's like no, the consumer now isn't really protected, and we don't have to be informed because people just want to make money. But they're banking on our own weaknesses to do that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Um,
They
they're banking on our own weaknesses, so we have to be informed enough. So children do the same thing. They bank on our own weaknesses because
no,
no parent wants to be called a bad parent. I mean, how many people like it? I remember breaking up very deliberately with my oldest. Right? I'm like, listen, I done sent you to college. I done got you through here. You can't. You don't. You're not gonna live off of us forever, and especially when you are, my husband always calls it a good time in your money. And then next thing I know, I gotta put your gas in your car, I gotta pay all your bills, but you good timing all your money.
mhm,
So I recall the date that we had our fracture. And boy, did he cuss, but he didn't cuss me out because he was far more respectful. But he touched the points of my motherhood, the identity I have as a mother that mattered. So the first thing he said to me is, Mom, you're not nurturing. Yes, he did. Mom, you're not nurturing. And I'm thinking to myself, because I don't want to pay your gas and you got a full-time job. The
mhm,
next thing he said was, you're not a good listener. What parent wants to be told they don't listen to their children? And then I think the final thing he said was, if your husband didn't tell you, like, so he touched two things. If your husband didn't tell you to do it, you wouldn't do it. So like, I'm not my own independent thinker, right?
yeah, yeah. He was definitely hitting up below the belt.
Oh, he was hitting all angles, right?
Those things definitely are jarring, when your loved ones do you like that. But I
Right,
would say, to be a good listener don't mean that you're agreeing to what you're hearing. You know what I mean?
right,
Because I
right.
think, good listeners are people that let you get your complete thought out, and then they kind of like validate what you're saying in the sense of like, I get that you feel this way, whatever.
Mhm,
But at the end of the day, there, the perspective I'm coming from, I don't see it that way. Because like I do think that, like it or not, uh, there's there's a effect for every, there's an effect for every cause. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So there's a consequence for all human action, and one of the primary things is the life that's getting created because of it. You know what I mean? So we all here because of our predecessors' choices and actions.
mhm.
And then none of us have asked to be here, and none of us are entitled to anything from the predecessor,
Mhm.
other than this precious gift of life that they've given you already, right?
Already, right.
And then you could argue, because I know that sometimes when you face with challenges in life, or the end of life or whatever,
Mhm.
you start thinking like, was this really a blessing? You know what I mean? Is it really, what does it all mean?
Don't they know you got the show at 2:30? Tell the people stop calling you. Y'all just disrespectful, growing up his phone. See that? You know what that is? The group chat would say them gals that you got on your look, the gals that you got on your chain, they don't have no sense. They want to disrupt your show.
You I want you on there. I was thinking too that, you know, like nobody's owed anything in that type of way, right?
Mhm.
But I can see how, in the end of it. So that last gig underneath the belt, right? That was to manipulate you to change, right? Saying like,
Oh, was.
you don't have to go with what daddy's saying, huh? You can
Right,
go,
like daddy's the one that controls you. And I'm like, no, daddy and I agree about most things.
but
Uh,
now he got a wife, right?
he has a wife now.
But
He
he
has,
control everything in the house.
well, I think in his youth,
He
uh,
doesn't. He don't though. He
no,
don't control
but
everything
I
that
think
goes
in
on.
his youth, if you because he's still young, and
Mhm,
I think what I admire about my son and my daughter-in-law is I see a lot of me and my husband in their union.
mhm,
So if you had to ask me at 25 who ran my marriage, right? I
mhm.
would be like, me,
Why
but
do you think you did?
well, because I think my husband really had a hard time saying no to me at that time. Um,
Mhm,
and one of the things that I'm gifted with is my husband really wanted us to be happy. Like once he had our family, um,
mhm,
pleasing us and making us happy was like a primary motivation. Even if that meant he had to like at one point in time he worked shift work. So,
mhm,
he would take on multiple shifts. It,
mhm,
it didn't matter. He would make sure that we had the things that we needed and that we were happy.
mhm,
Um, but it wasn't until like I was more mature that I understood that what we were doing together.
absolutely.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I think so. I think my son sees it from, and I don't know. I can't speak for him. I would think that I think he understands that he's working with his wife, but I
Mhm.
think he probably feels like, well, he's y'all, all y'all little mini chauvinists. My grandson, all y'all little mini chauvinists. My son,
No, you
I'm
think
sure he thinks. I'm sure he thinks he controlling something over there, but in reality, we locking it down. I'm sure he does.
well, it's funny. I heard my brother was telling me this the other day. He said that just like there's this coined phrase of toxic masculinity, there's toxic femininity, you know what I'm saying? Where
Okay.
radical too much, you know what I mean? And he's
Right.
like, most of the world's issues right now in the United States is due to toxic femininity or whatever. He's
Toxic femininity.
like, yes.
Are you watching what I'm watching? Is if women rule if Kamala was in office now, all of us would be in much better shape. It is
Yeah,
not a
I'm
toxic
all
woman running the
about
thing.
that. I don't know about that. I think that yeah, I think Trump
We
here
don't know about that just because you're thinking the political side of it. But
Trump
if I think
resonate Trump resonate more on the feminine side. You know what I mean? Like he act and react more like a feminine does. You know what I
no,
mean?
I think there's lots of men like him. That's why if
I say
there's
there's a bunch of feminine men. Like, there's not there's just because a man is a male don't make him masculine. That's why they say there's a positive masculinity archetype. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But Trump don't represent that to me. You know what I mean? And I think that and not to put Trump down, you know what I mean? Because I do think there's certain kind of things that he does pretty good, you know what I mean? But just
like
well, I think that number
why
one, well, for whatever it's worth, you know what I'm saying? He done trailblazed and set some precedents that weren't there previously. You know what I mean? So
well,
for
but he had help. I think the reality is he's
mhm,
having help because what's meaningful to me now
mhm.
is how long the resistance takes. Because
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are uncomfortable and feeling, regardless of what side of your politics you're on, not okay with some of the behaviors. But resistance actually takes courage,
yeah,
just like leadership takes courage.
right, right, right.
And I don't think anybody yet has decided that they are uncomfortable enough to actually resist.
Yeah, because it's a penalty that comes along with it.
Because there's a penalty. That's what I said. That's why I said, well, you got to get uncomfortable,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
got to be
yeah.
uncomfortable, or you have to be principled. I was reading the Nat Turner story, right?
Right, right.
And let me just tell you how gangster this my and what he was totally free because no, even born into slavery, everything. This man refused to believe he was a slave. If you really read his story and his concepts, and so when they were shackled, even if he was shackled, he would say, "You have not shackled my mind." That's resistance. Like you've only shackled my body. That's resistance to because then what do you think the oppressor did? Try to target the mind. So it's like I think regardless of what we are all going through and where we live on this political spectrum, resistance is necessary when these types of human harms are occurring around us.
No, I
And
agree with you
there's
on that.
lots of human harm happening.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think definitely being principled is key. Being
Mhm.
centered in principles for sure.
And I've been seeing a lot like, I was in a situation recently and the people were outright lying. Like and these were people that from a hierarchical perspective where we were situated, we were supposed to honor and respect them. And my problem is I knew they were lying. I knew they were and they knew they were lying. A liar know they lying. You know what I mean? But they know they lying, but they hope you don't know they lying. you know?
Right, right.
So the emotional cost of that is interesting. That's why they can't keep up with their lies because they got to keep making them bigger and bigger and bigger so the details will hopefully make you believe them. But at that moment, when in that hierarchy of things, I lost respect for them because they were holding on to the lie. And I think I asked myself, could ever respect them, even though in the hierarchy, I'm supposed to really respect these people, and they're supposed to be somebody that I'm supposed to look up to. And I think I answered my own question when I asked myself that question because the answer was no. So the rest of the trip, I just got quiet. I shrank into the wall because I said, I can't learn from none of these people. I can't be around these people that they don't have my respect because they lie.
Yeah, they don't
Um,
have integrity, right? Because
they don't have integrity.
I do feel you on that. I mean, I think the same way. Like at the end of the day, you show your core values through circumstances that unfold.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you got some sort of integrity or whatever it'll show in those moments. But those is like how relationships are actually really built. But I just be wondering, like, the people that actually support, our current president or whatever, why do that? Because it's a big amount of people that do. So there must be something that they're getting from it, you know. And out of that, whatever he's doing and being able to, make people confident in him, even though he's lacking in certain abilities. That's amazing.
Well,
That's
because a
really.
lot of the people that are listening to him already felt small.
Hmm.
So these are people who, in my opinion, right? And I mean, there is like a real archetype, like of
Right.
like dominant people. And I mean, even if let's just watch the Instagrams, like let's just if we didn't even do the science of it and watch the people that are going out there, um, uh, it's a certain class, it's a certain type, a certain style, a
Right.
certain rejected human in some way.
Right.
You know, and now this person who is doing things that only bottom basement people do, because I loved when I don't know if this was Toni Morrison or if it was Angela Maya Angelou, but she said if the only way you can feel tall is to make someone else feel small, then what does that say about you? And those are the very people in my mind that are benefiting from this. Is because right now those people feel tall, but
Mhm.
they not eating. They paying as much. Some of them riding bicycles. I haven't seen more bicycles on the road in my entire life. Now DC done took a whole lane away, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
preparation for bicycles because they knew it was going to happen, right?
Wow.
Now all of a sudden you see more bicycles, and I live in a rural part of the state, right? A more rural part of the state. There was this man. He was from India, right? And for about 10 years, this dude been on a bicycle. I'm talking about riding bicycles up a hill, everything. He outride all of us, even in the vehicles. He has now got a whole bunch of counterparts on the road because people got bicycles and little scooters that you can pedal, but they motorize and stuff. I done seen more of those things on the road. You want to know why they got bicycles? Because my car takes over $100 to fill up because I got that big
Mhm.
monster on the road, right? So
Mhm.
uh you want to know why they riding bicycles? Because they can't go to the gas station. You want to know why their teeth are falling out of their mouth and their heads? Because they losing dental insurance. Dental Everybody's health insurance went up 40 something percent when those
Mhm.
or more when the subsidies that the government was paying was taken away. So you know what's happening? People are sick, dropping dead in the streets, teeth falling out because they can't get no. So there's an impact, right?
Yeah.
Even those toothless people think they better than the highest black person.
And that's so funny, ain't it?
It's funny.
Yeah.
I was
It's
I went to the
you
airport the
know
other
you know what's really amazing though. That's
what?
really amazing. So and I encourage everyone to do this who's under the vibration of our voice presently, right? Go and look up the hits, basically how long the black genetics have been on this planet versus the European Caucasian genetics, and you'd be astonished at how
Some of
long.
them can't read.
Well, I was,
They're taking away. So we might have to read it to them, and we might have to source it for them
well,
because
you
even with that knowledge, even with I was watching a program, and the
yeah.
trope about how black people don't have daddies, which sometimes only children can say things in a meaningful way. So I was listening to this like a high school, middle school argument when I was working in the schools, and this it was almost a racial conversation, but it really wasn't. But so this one white girl was talking to a black girl, like, at least I got a daddy. She was like, well, bitch, I got a daddy too. I just don't like that motherfucker. Like it was like she was like but then when you looked at that same girl's family tree, she had three siblings who had different dads. You see what I'm saying? So the myth is we don't have fathers. And like, I'll take that little middle school's logic. Well, I got a dad. I just don't like that dude. Or, you
uh,
know, or he's not the one raising me, but that doesn't mean there's father figures, or he may have passed away. A lot of everybody or that father is actually in the home fathering, but you want to believe that black people in large parts don't have a dad, don't have a mom, don't
it's,
have a this.
it's
And
so
that's
interesting. That's why I say, like, even right now, when you look at the origin of civilization and stuff like that, ancient civilizations, you look at the art that they did, how they depicted themselves, and all that they were like melanated people. But if you seriously, if you go and do research, you'll see like melanated people been on this planet for like 5 million years or so. Then they talk about like Caucasian people at tops, they only been on this planet like 50,000 years at the highest record of it. So that's a significant difference. You know what I mean? And so they're like kind of like the youngest population of humans. And
He ain't lying.
and then you'd be wondering, but it's kind of like no wonder that the youngest population, is running rapidly wild like this. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Every all the other folks, they kind of like in harmony with the universe. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
ain't trying to be destroying it, but these people, they gonna kill their mother, which is the earth, the planet. They, you know what I mean?
Parasitic, it's
They
like a
kill all
parasitic
life.
relationship. We got a parasitic relationship, which
Mhm,
again, from not a mental health perspective, because the mentally ill deserve better, but
mhm.
from that ego principle and that um
But that ego
unenlightened principle.
principle is insane.
It's
Sometimes
insane.
I be thinking of my own ego. Like the ego tell you to do sometime, and I be saying like, that's crazy. Like why you would do that? That's
Why
crazy.
would you do that?
Yeah,
Right.
like sometimes, let's just say, Dave Chappelle when he say he walked away from big money and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
right.
Sometimes your ego be like that, like, man, fuck that contract, fuck this, whatever. You know what I mean?
I don't need that. Right.
Then you be like, man, I better not do that. You know what I mean?
The ego is as simple as the ego is also what creates like gluttony,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I have a sugar issue, man. I really do. And I've been stressed because all the stuff that's been going on. And I told myself the other day, so I have a favorite cookie. It's called the Tam Tam. Yeah,
yeah.
these
I heard
cookies,
it.
they so good. They good. It's a chocolate on
Right?
Look, even talking about it, I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
It's a good cookie,
yeah.
and it's got curve. It's like the perfect blend of everything. It's just great.
Mhm.
So, but Tam Tams only come. There's only 8 cookies in the package.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Only. Yeah, that's a lot of cookies.
So look. So truly, that should be if I rationed it out, I should be able to have Tam Tams for 2 weeks, right?
No,
Roughly, like
no.
2 weeks, and a little bit of more
Yeah, if you savored it,
if
yeah.
I savoring it, right? So I'm in the store looking at the Tam Tam. The ego said, this was exactly what it said to me. A, you stress, buy 2 boxes.
You ain't lying. The
So look,
whole
on today I went looking for my Tam Tam.
Oh well,
They're gone.
I feel you, yo.
So I unconsciously ate all of them, and because I'm still like counting, where did them cookies go?
And
You know,
it's funny you say that because I think like people do that with each other. You know what I mean? Like, a dude could be single, he could be living by himself, everything. And then he just be like, I need to get some joints. You know what I mean? When you go out there, start meeting joints, then you be like, man, all these joints nuts. I need to get rid of these joints. But you never get to a place where you like, hey, I'm good. Like I got
I
something
got
that I'm
enough,
used
right?
to.
I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
just
yeah,
enough. See,
yeah.
I'm glad. See, because you was about to get in trouble, and the group just chat just went off. So praise Jesus, we about to end. I can't man. Look, my phone got the lighting up when you said that. So I can't wait to read what it said, but I'm sure they said bald-headed brother that had always taken back the girls. That's where your mind is. And you know what? When you do, so I'm gonna do my sugar detox. I need you to do your female detox.
I'm already in that cycle. You know what I mean?
Oh, you detox it.
I'm in the spin, the rinse and spin, whatever they call it.
You need a detox from it. You
But
know what? You keep it up.
I might do what that dude that's drawn the plaintiff that's drawn that court case. I'm looking for a nipple to get on. You know what I mean? somebody
Hey,
that can
we
nurse
got
it.
because maybe you know what we could do. Like if we gangster enough, we need to find our ancestors and be like, "Oh y'all, fuck this up. Oh y'all, I'm going to the whole lineage.
I'm
Yeah,
old.
I am owed, and anything you got, I'm owed it." So we gotta watch the outcome of these civil lawsuits to see who actually is the winner. Well, brother, it's always a pleasure for you to just remove and get away from the ills of the day. I hope you have a fantastic week and you continue to be great as always. Anything you want to say to our people?
I just want us to give out love and radiate it to everybody, and hope that everybody's bringing out their highest potential for good, and keep doing what they do.
Bye for now.
All right. Thank you.